wanted to talk a little bit about the beginning of the Bible, kind of my spin on it. So you got God, right? He steps into play, and he starts making creation, and he starts, separating, light, or making light and separating the darkness, and the man makes oceans and fills them up with animals and all that kind of stuff, fills the planet up with animals, fills the ocean up with fishes, all that stuff, fills the sky up with birds, everything after its kind, everything that creepeth and crawleth. And you get this sense of how massive this thing is, because when he speaks, these things happen. His words actually take action, and it's something to really think about. Anyway, so all the way through, he's creating these things, and he gets to a point where he validates himself. He says, hey, I made this light, it's good. And over again, he's the only one there to really, he's the only one really qualified to give himself a pat on the back. It's good, it's good, it's good, everything's good. And the first time he gets to a point where it isn't good is Adam's alone. And you know that God has a purpose for creating this world. He's on a mission. He has a plan, some sort of a grand master plan, and he's doing something. But Adam is alone. And it's not going to fulfill his plan. But he says that it's not good. That's like the first time in the whole creation so far, he's just like, this is not good. So his solution to his solvable problem is a woman. In the old text, it talks about how she is a helpmeet. You then start to realize that everything Adam is not good at, Eve is good at. I'm not going to end this video. I'm going to keep going with it the more that I delve into the topic. But I just wanted to share that God solves the problem of man by adding a woman. Said it's not good for man to be alone. So he blesses this man with a woman. It's kind of weird. My dad always told me he just wanted a woman to be in cahoots against the world with him. I guess nowadays you'd say ride or die. But to have that backup, because problems are coming, to be able to lean on somebody like that and know they're not going to buckle and they're not going to fold under pressure. They're going to be there with you in the trench fighting no matter what. It's weird. I'm not going to say Bonnie and Clyde was a great pair. I'm sure they did a lot of crime. But I bet you Clyde knew what he had. Because in a corner, backed up against the whole world, he knew she wouldn't buckle. And I don't know if they get to go to heaven or hell. I have no idea about that. I'm just giving you my opinion. These are my ideas inside my head. I read, and that's kind of where I came up with all this stuff. And there's kind of a reason that I started this way. I spent a lot of time on the streets as a kid, and I'd use street drugs, and then I'd, get locked up in jail and stuff like that because I had to be loaded every day so I could escape my pain or whatever. And at the end of my using career, and the thing that turned me or changed me was that Bible. It was that book. And the only way that it worked one of the last times I was ever locked up, I was sitting inside of a cell. And it was by myself, 23 hours out of a day. I don't know if I was like physically sick or something and they didn't want me to get anybody else sick, but I was basically in like a medical like wing by myself. And basically 23 hours out of the day, I had to sit inside this cell. I'd pretty much eat in there, and they'd let me out for like an hour into this other area, but there was nobody else. It was just me. And it was a lot of, reflecting time. First, I tried to sleep as long as I could sleep, and that worked for a while. But at some point, I couldn't sleep anymore. I couldn't escape that way. So then I just had to be up. And I was inside this room all by myself with a copy of the King James Version of the Bible, just staring at it. And I didn't read it at first. I didn't. I was trying to sleep. I was trying to escape. It didn't work. But after staring at it all day one day, I just went over into the book because I'm like, what could it hurt? And I'm not here to like preach at people and tell them that's what I think they need to do. I have no idea what you need to do. If you can take something out of my words, I definitely want to be helpful to somebody if they've ever been in a situation where, if you were like me, you hated God, you hated, I definitely hated people. If you were a person that breathed, I hated you. And if you were me, like I hated me. I did. I hated me. I can't even tell you. There are no words. There are no words to the seething hatred that I had for me for so long. And I had all the reasons, and I fed that hate every single day. I hated me more than I hated God and people put together. I did. And at every moment of my day, and I just couldn't figure out why I was locked into that vicious cycle over and over again. And when I sat down and I opened that book, and it'd been a long time, because I remember being Bible thumped as a kid, none of that stuff was really important to me. But when I opened that book and it was all I had, I started to get something that I hadn't got before. It helped me. Somewhere in my vicious cycle, I couldn't stop. And no matter what I tried, and later on I'll talk more about that, because I'm not going to end this like series of just, me. I'll throw some other dorky videos up or whatever. I just kind of wanted to give people, the reasons that I, believe the way that I believe. Somewhere in that book, it was able to free this, because I was trapped into my vicious cycle over and over and over again, and I couldn't get out. But what was inside that book changed what was up here. And eventually, it gave me enough freedom to stop that vicious cycle. And there's other stuff that happened, I mean, I ran into that brick wall and that hard rock in a hard place over and over and over again. But inside that book, there were words that came alive on those pages that I had never really brought into my person before. I mean, I had been in seminary classes when I was a kid, and I had, scriptures beaten into my soul, but none of it mattered until that moment, when all I had left was God. And I was mad at him. He's big enough, he could take it. But I'm not even close to done with this whole thing. I'm just hoping that if there's somebody else that's weird or quirky like me, and they're in a place that was anything like where I was, that you hold on, that you hold out. Because a miracle can happen.